And we are live, everyone, with the Wednesday live stream. Very excited this week to have Bear Independent on with us. Bear, for the three people in the audience who have no idea who you are, tell us, who is Bear and why is he flicking a knife at me?
I'm flicking a knife at John because I feel like he was aggressive towards me off
Yeah.
camera. I'm Bear from the internet. I'm a guy that lives in eastern Oklahoma. I talk about preparedness on our channel, YouTube channel Bear Independent, and we do faith preparedness homesteading there. And I'm the CEO of Refuge Medical. I own 4 American small businesses, run 2 ministries. We do disaster relief, and we rescue and rehabilitate juvenile human trafficking survivors. And everything we talk about at our channel is stuff that we've actually done. So we know what works and what doesn't work for us. It might not work for you, but it's certainly not pontification or stuff that I read in a book one time. So it's all trial and error, which is what we share with people so that hopefully they are taking a shortcut around a lot of pain and heartache trying to get their homestead spun up or get their preparedness journey going or whatever you may have.
Awesome. Okay, so for some reason your mic just went a little weird, so I don't know if it's an angle thing. Just yeah, thank you very much. So, hello, you are here.
Hello.
Yes, we did hear you, but it went in and out a little bit. Anyway, it was great having you at Self-Reliance Festival talking about building community. Can you just talk to us a little bit about your thoughts on the preparedness world and how it works if you're deciding to do everything by yourself? What the alternative to that perspective might be?
Is that real?
That is real.
Holy shit, you gotta get one of those.
I've got 4 of them. I'll send you one, brother. Wow. That is the cover of the Epoch Times magazine that reported on the Self-Reliance Festival.
We had an Epoch Time reporter here at Self-Reliance.
Yeah.
That's how this happened.
Oh, no shit.
And they apparently thought I was better looking than you, so I made the cover.
Well, I mean,
I don't know why I didn't make the cover. Come on, man.
I have no beard. No beard, Nicole. That's the issue.
Oh, I'll wear a beard next time.
Yeah, so like there's a lot of people in preparedness who have this lone wolf mentality. They think they're going to be able to make it on their own, and maybe they can for a time. The problem is that historically is inaccurate. People for eons, for millennia, since the dawn of time, have coalesced into groups for 2 primary reasons: security and labor. And as we continue to experience the decline of the American empire, you're going to need more of those things because the system, however you define it, is becoming more and more fragile, less and less dependent, which means you have to be able to provide your own security and your own labor. Your backyard needs to be a grocery store. Your neighborhood needs to be a police department and a fire department, an emergency services department, right? Like that's the way that you need to organize your mind. That's the way you need to structure your life, that your friends across the street are also part of your fire team and your community supported agriculture. Because the system, it's not coming to save you. It's not coming to enslave you. They're just not coming. They don't have the bandwidth to be able to come. And so there's a lot of lone wolf mentality and preparedness that I'll be able to make it. I'll be able to get by. Well, if you go for a walk and you turn your ankle, you're now possibly dead because nobody else knows you're out there, right? Like you might have just become a loot drop for a bunch of coyotes, right? Or your neighbor or whatever. And then a lot of other people, I hear this all the time in the preparedness community. Well, I just don't trust people. Well, I tell my kids all the time, you want to be loved, be lovable. You want to be respected, be respectable, right? You want to be honored, be honorable. And so if you want to be trusted, people have to be able to trust you. And we've all, like, everybody's had bad relationships, right? We're all people. We've all gone through some stuff. But if you're looking backwards towards the stuff that you already went through, you can't look forwards at the stuff that you're going to be going through at the same time. You know, who amongst you puts his hand to the plow and looks backwards? Like, it's the story of Lot's wife in Genesis. Don't turn around and look backwards. You should be focused forward. And so get over your bad self and make friends with people because you're going to need those people in some form of network as things continue to get screwy, or you yourself will be screwed. It is much easier for any bad outside influence to act on an individual than it is for a group. Groups exert influence and power. Individuals are exerted upon. They are acted upon. They don't act, they are acted upon. So
that's all the thoughts. I went a much less deep way to get to the conclusion. About a decade ago, I was out here looking at my land, realizing what I grow well is green chilies and meat. And I don't want to live on green chilies and meat here. But the property next door was well suited for vegetable growth. And there was somebody living there. And I said, hey, let's do this thing where you grow the vegetables, I'll grow the meat, and then we'll trade. And as I thought about that in a bigger survival sort of setting, I realized all over our county, there are just things are better suited for different specializations. And that's when I realized, okay, we got to be friends. We got to know how to communicate outside of the internet. We have to know who's on board and who's not. And that just resulted in a very natural community developing. And ignoring that or not talking to people because of minor disagreements just gets you further in trouble. I have somebody who just moved in next door, doesn't want to be friends with anybody on the street.
That's a great policy.
Because they're worried about the state of the societal crumble. And so they have moved to the country to retreat up on the hill, which is not good at growing anything, because I know that property really, like, it grows deer.
Up on the hill, all the water's down on your guys' property.
Yes. Yeah. So I hope that they will come to the realization that being hermits doesn't work. I hope it doesn't take them a decade of that.
Well, it's a classic tool of the enemy is isolation. Why would you self-isolate?
Well, you just saw it for 2 years, yeah.
Yeah, it's a classic tool of the enemy. And the thing is, we talked about this at the Self-Reliance Festival. High ideological alignment. You want to be ideologically aligned with the people that you're doing life with, right? You should be able to love the people that are in your community, however you define community. But it's also okay if you disagree on things that are not deal breakers. If John is like, hey, I'm an AK guy, and I'm like, I'm an AR guy, that doesn't mean I can't hang out with John, right? It's like, oh, he doesn't respect the fact that I think the M4 is the best battle rifle ever made. He's an idiot. Like, who cares? Like, I want to eat his guinea hens. So I'm able to overlook his love of the Kalashnikov for the fact that I want to eat his guinea hens, right? So there's things that matter and things that don't. And a lot of people, their ego is so big that they get wrapped up in this prepper persona that they've made for themselves that they don't allow a little bit of that vulnerability that's required to be able to build trust with other people. And if you don't trust the people you're doing life with, why the hell are you trying to survive the end of the world with them? You know? So, yes, the guy named Bear said, be a little bit vulnerable. You have to be a little bit vulnerable in order to get to know one another.
Totally.
I like that for a dude to come on, especially with the content you put out and say those things, right? Like that's what I drove up to Kentucky because that was the closest you were going to be. I wanted to see this dude and look him in the eyes and shake hands with him, right? And you're kind of like, who's this dude, right? This guy shows up. And then I followed you for a couple years now. You came on my radar the same time Yanasa TV and Adapt 2030, David Dubine, and Christian, Ice Age Farmer. Like, I found all four of you somehow that day, right? But every morning, like, you're doing the live video every morning, and I'm like, I told thousands of people, like, we talked about your live video every night on my live video. Like, I'm like, I believe this guy. Like, he's saying these things. I believe him. I like, it adds value, like, and actionable, right? When you came here the first time, I'm like, hey, how much I want to show you these things. I want you to know that I mean what I say and I do what I say and I'm actually doing this stuff. It was very important. And we stood here for a couple hours and had that conversation. You're the only dude I personally invited to come to Self-Reliance Festival. And they're like, what do you want me? What are we going to do? And I'm like, I want you to be you. Like, I want you to have those conversations and go beyond what you can do on YouTube. And man, you delivered. You delivered for sure, man. I appreciate you.
John, I appreciate you back, brother. I really appreciate those words. I got to tell you, at Self-Reliance Festival, I had a little bit of the butterflies because I don't usually speak in front of groups of people or groups of people that I've never met before. Usually it's a sideways iPhone. But it was really cool to be able to engage with the audience. And you had pulled me aside before I went under the big white tent, and you were like, "Hey, bro, go hard." I was like, "You got it. I'll go hard." So it was an awesome opportunity, and I thank you for that. And I got to meet Nicole in person, and that's the whole thing, right? You have to go meet people, and like you said, be able to look somebody in the eye, take the measure of a man, take the measure of a woman, decide, do I want to be involved with these people or do I not be? Do I not want to be? Do I believe them? Is there fruit to what they say? Because talk is cheap AF, man. We can all blab all day, or are they actually doing stuff, right? That's bona fides. How can we check each other's fruit? And so that's part of like a vetting process, which is what you're talking about. Because if you had driven up to Kentucky when we were there for disaster deployment, and we're like, "Oh, this guy's totally full of crap. He said one thing, but he's doing another," that would have been the last time we ever saw each other, right? And so, but all that gets back to what Nicole was talking about with community is like, sniff each other's asses. That's part of life, right? And you don't on day one decide, typically speaking, you don't on day one decide, "Yep, that's it. I'm going to hitch my wagon to this wagon train that this guy's got going on, and I'm 100% on board." It's a game of degrees, right? It's circles within circles within circles. And the more you do with other people, the better you get to know them, the closer to that inner circle you get. And that dovetails into operational security and the whole nine and blah, blah, blah. But the point is, people have to be bearing fruit. And that's a key example of, should I or should I not onboard this person? Should I or should I not have something to do with these people? And it's, your body, your mitochondrial DNA is hardwired to figure this stuff out. Like, don't make it more difficult than it has to be. You know when you know. You know when you don't know. And we like to tell people, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. If you don't meet somebody and you're like, "Hey, you want to hang out with John?" Hell yeah. If you're like, I don't know, maybe, then it's probably a no, you know.
I don't think you hang out with John, though. You work with him.
We've yet to actually hang out, you know.
You gotta hang out.
One of us hang out. That's what I tell guys all the time. Like, when you hang out with me, you're gonna chase me. Like, you're gonna be fucking tired at the end of the day.
Yep. Yeah, I get that. People email me all the time. They're like, "Hey, Bear, look at this in your spare time." I'm like, you are delusional.
Spare time.
What spare time?
I even catch myself like sending you video links, and I always, if I ever send you a video, I'm like, "Hey, 17 minutes in, this is the part I want you to hear." Right?
Yep.
I get it all day long, man, all day.
You know, people wonder how to communicate with personalities, and that's a big tip. Rather than tell me how busy I am and I don't know if you have time for this, tell me 17 minutes in, I want you to look at this snippet.
Can I ask you a question? You just fucking asked me a question. No.
Done. That's your question. Yeah.
Bullet points. I'm reading nothing past the first three.
Well, that actually gets into time management, right? Because especially from an entrepreneurial standpoint, you understand the value of time. It's the most precious resource you have. We will never get these moments back ever again, right? You spend them and they're gone.
If they evaluated what they did with their time and assigned a dollar amount per minute, you would really look at how much time we actually waste, right? How many times a day does anybody in the audience sit down to go to the bathroom, and I'm like, "I'm just going to check," and all of a sudden you're like, "Why are my legs numb?" Well, you've been here 40 seconds. I don't have time. Yo, you have time. It's just how we use it.
So I finished my coffee orders at 11:35 today, and I don't like to be super sweaty when I come on the live stream. So I also knew that the more food I grow, the better. And I went up to the garden where I had dug potatoes last night, smoothed it out, put green beans in that row. It took 5 minutes. I timed it. It took 5 minutes, and I came back down the hill and like took a shower so I could be ready for this. And that's how fast things happen. People have no idea. When you unload the dishwasher, I can unload the dishwasher in 60 seconds or less.
Yep. I can do the entire kitchen in 7 minutes for 20 people.
Yeah. It's crazy. And it's just, I only know that because I would microwave something to heat it up, and I would say, well, while I'm waiting, I'll unload the dishwasher, and I'm done before it's done.
Absolutely.
So putting that chore off because you're too busy is not a thing.
Well,
And that's
people
how I
do
feel
that.
about
Like
everything.
you make mountains in your own mind that you then have to like mentally, emotionally try to climb. And it's like
Yeah.
you spent more energy coming up with reasons why you couldn't do the thing than if you just did the damn thing in the first place.
Yep. This person just bought a homestead. They've been working nonstop. That's what it is to have a homestead. There's always something to do. And with the weather pattern we've had this year, I call it the no-kill list. We have a no-kill list every day. Who are we checking on for water?
Yeah.
How are we
Because
getting
if you
water
go
to them?
24 hours, they're dying. Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing how fast that happens. Okay, we're going to Shanghai you with this question, Bear. Of course, you are always welcome to speak at Self-Reliance Festival anytime you want to. And now people are starting to ask, are you coming to Self-Reliance Festival in October? You don't have to commit now.
What are the dates in October?
1 and 2.
October 1st and 2nd.
Shit, I've been saying it's the end of October. I've been saying
Maybe. I'll give it a strong maybe.
I'll give you a follow-up email in a couple weeks. How's that?
Okay, that's what my calendar looks like. So yeah,
Looking full.
Yeah.
I have multiple calendars. The only one that I use typically Nicole's like, hey, we're doing a live feed on this day. And then that morning she's like, hey, we're doing a live feed at 12:30.
Hey.
And then 30 minutes before she's like, hey, we're doing a live feed. Like that's the only calendar that's going to happen for sure. That's the only thing that's going to happen. John Witherspoon was here 2 hours ago, and I'm like, hey, bro, I got to go take a shower. I got to go do these things. I got to I got to eat lunch. I got to do all of this in 30 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah, I have somebody who part of their daily duties is to not only manage my calendar, but to make sure I look at it. Because otherwise there's too much stuff going on. And then it comes back to time management. You end up missing stuff. And then you also, have you all heard the concept of like, you only have so many spoons in a day?
Yes.
Right? And so we had that conversation as well. It's like, I might have 12 more things on my to-do list for the rest of the day, and I've only got 6 spoons. I'm like, all right, now it's time to prioritize and execute. What are we okay with not getting done today? What has to get done today?
Yeah.
So that's also like being aware of how many spoons you have to give each day, and it varies. Like some day you're on fire, you got 56 spoons, and other days you're like, I got 5, and I'm gonna need 4 of them just to perform the minor tasks that I have to do to get through the day. That gives me 1 extra spoon. So it's a big part of it as well. But that actually comes back to pressure and accountability, right? Having people outside of yourself that hold you accountable so that you can be the best you possible, which comes back to people and community.
I made a big change in my life when I joined a CrossFit gym, and what that does, I'm not in it anymore because they've gone out of business, but I still have the network, and the network is still asking me like, did you work out today? And sometimes the answer is no. And then I feel guilty. And then the next day I do, so I can say yes. And that was the thing that CrossFit brought me, was a network of people who genuinely care about me, who are like, hey man, we didn't see you at the gym for 2 days. Like, what's up? Are you sick? No, I'm just lazy. Okay, well, get your butt in here and start working. So I don't know. And that's the same for prepping. I think, it's really easy because there are so many things to manage. And I look at each category as a system. Do I have a system in place to refuel my fuel storage? Do I have a system in place for developing a deep pantry? Do I have a system developed to expand my financial literacy and stability? If I don't have a system in one of those categories, first thing you got to do is set up a system. But if you do, you got to stick to the system. And it becomes easy to forget to stick to the system sometimes, probably because of the spoons thing, right? You get really focused. Like right this time of year, it's all about preserving food here. So that's where I'm focused. And then it's very easy for me to stop paying attention to other systems like fuel storage, which is super important right now.
Well, the cool thing about systems is that they can be automated. And I like the way that you think about it as a system, right? Because, from an entrepreneurship standpoint, you start as like a sole proprietorship. Hey, I'm going to make an individual first aid kit, or hey, I'm going to sew a chest rig, or hey, I'm going to sell some coffee. And sooner or later, you outgrow that to where you have to bring other people on board. Well, if you have a system in place, now you can train somebody else on how to do that system. Like, this is how we do things at Refuge Medical. This is the standard that we expect you to meet if not exceed, at Refuge Medical. This is our system, right? But also they can be automated. There's certain parts of that you can just put on autopilot. It's a system. And systems, by their very nature, you can develop that automaticity where you're just running down the checklist mentally in your head without even thinking about it anymore, which actually frees up more brain power, which gives you a spoon or two back at the end of the day because you're not having to actively think about it. Like if you, super easy example, the first in, first out, like canned storage shelves. If I can see in this row we're low on green beans, buy green beans. I don't gotta inventory all the green beans and like spend 4 hours walking through there with a whiteboard and an expo marker and making graphs and charts. Buy more friggin' green beans, a-hole. That's it, right? Because like now it's a system. I can visually see, yep, order green beans ordered, or plant more green beans or whatever you're into, right? So there's value to that for sure.
I think a lot of that goes back to, delegating authority. I like what you had said, when your wife decided, hey, maybe there's something to this stuff. And she said, maybe we should, bulk up our dry goods. And you're like, awesome, you're in charge, right? So delegated authority, clearing headspace. If you're the lead singer of that band, you're the poster boy, right? Do you want me doing creative stuff or do you want me doing manufacturing, right? Should I be building $15 parts or should I be designing a bunch of new $15 parts? It's delegating authority. And I got that term peopling, from you, doing the things with peopling. And that's my lacking point, is guiding people. My human resource department goes, hey, this is how this is done. Hey, remember when I showed you how this was done? Hey, this is how this is going to be done. Hey, step in my office, you're fired. Like that's my human. I should not be human resourcing, but that's where we are as a small business. And I'm in a bunch of different business development groups. I was listening to a dude, and he said, we bought this $25,000 machine to fold shirts. And he's like, that was a really hard buy because I can buy another machine that makes all these shirts. And he said, but when we did the math and we started really looking at everything, we had 4 employees that were folding shirts, and we're only getting 20 shirts an hour. He said, we saved $80,000 the first month buying the $25,000 machine. So it's just that, it's that development. And that's, I think you're really, from where I am looking at that, you seem really good at that, like really good. People are drawn, they want to be a part of that.
I appreciate that. Part of that is standards, right? You set a standard for yourself. Let's say like you're a type A, you're an achiever, if not an overachiever, right? That automatically does 2 things. The first is everybody who doesn't even think that they can begin to live up to that standard automatically self-selects out. I'm going to deal with those people, right? So there's far fewer people I got to pull into the office and have a conversation with. So that's just simply holding myself to my own standards and then living them so everybody else can see that, right? And then B, that resonates with the other killers out there that are just getting after it. And they're like, I want to be on that team because they're a bunch of killers. They have standards. There are high expectations. That's going to give me an opportunity to plug in. And now we've got a team of straight up assassins when it comes to getting stuff done. And because they take that ownership in what we're doing, dude, the problems that I have to fix, because entrepreneurship is firefighting. I just put out fires all day, right? That's my job. And when you got 4 businesses and 2 ministries, something is always on fire, right? Then you add in homestead and community and family. It's always on fire, right? But I handle problems that are way up here. That's where I'm dealing with. They get automatically handled at the lower ranks because we're surrounded by a bunch of assassins who take personal responsibility to handle that stuff. And so that gets back into time management. I'm not getting bothered with, hey boss, what do you think we should get, the Bic pen or should we get the Sharpie pen? I don't friggin' care. I don't care what you use, just get pens.
I always
what's
say,
my budget for pens?
I wasn't here, what would you choose? What would you have chosen if you didn't see me today?
Exactly.
And buy 10,000 of them so we never have to buy them again.
Exactly. And if you need a budget for pens, we're probably doing something else wrong in business,
If you're not to the point where they mail you pins every month for free so that you'll buy them, you probably need to do something else.
I like the ones that used to come with the little labels for grandma's envelopes on it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen the labels, but we just got pins this weekend.
Yeah, I just got pins this week too. It must be a thing. Okay, because I don't hate money, I am going to show the super chat question for Michael. How do you handle a couple on a compound where one carries their weight and the other is slacking? And I assume by this he means somebody living at his place.
Or you married the wrong one.
Yeah, I'm assuming this is a second set of people.
So I have thoughts on this, but I'm interested to see what y'all say first.
Step in my office, you're fired. You're fired.
Yeah, so I would say in the Holler neighbors, everybody owns their own thing. So if you can't keep your own thing up, even though we help each other, it's just not going to work. So if the couple, the one who's not pulling their weight, if they're still able to keep their stuff together because the other one's an overperformer, I'm not even going to notice. I don't feel like I have to keep score of what everybody in a relationship does, because often couples work together and split the work, and one may be doing more behind the scenes than you realize. However, if they are a ball and chain to you on your property, then you're going to have to get rid of both of them. Maybe you have the hard conversation once where you say, listen, Thelma Louise or Bart Simpson is not pulling their weight, and this is the expectation to come out of both of you in order to live here. If this does not happen one way or another, you're not going to live here.
And having a structure in place prior. Something, there's a framework. They know what's expected. If this, then that. If you do this, these are the rewards. If you fail at this, these are the repercussions. And it's much simpler to do it from the beginning than, down in the middle of it, for sure.
So you guys both said the word that I was thinking was expectations. Has an expectation been set that they will do X and instead they're doing Y? If the answer to that is yes, now you have grounds for conversation. If your perception is they're underperforming, but you've never set the standard for them, how do they know they're underperforming? You have to go have that conversation with them and tell them what you expect from them so that they can therefore achieve it. If you've never had that conversation, then they're just shooting in the dark. 100% chance they're not going to hit the target, right? And then as far as, I really like what you said, Nicole, as far as some people do work that is unseen, right? And so you need to choose, do you quantify per individual or do you quantify per household? And if the household is putting out, if they're up to standard, but you just perceive that this one person in the household isn't pulling their weight, that's probably a conversation that you need to have with the other member of the household to get some more data. Because they might be like, no, my wife's a killer. You just don't see it because she's doing X, Y, Z inside of the house all day. So I can be out here doing all the stuff that you see. And then lastly, if you've set expectations, you know what you want people to do, and they're just not doing it. There's a process for that. It's actually biblical. It's in Matthew chapter 18. You go first one-on-one. I go to John and I'm like, John, how come you have no hair? I don't like the fact that you have hair. We need to have a conversation. Right? And we sit down and we have a conversation. And by the way, there's a difference between this thing is wrong and I don't like it. And most people are like, don't have that differentiation in their mind. Just because you don't like something doesn't make it wrong, especially if it's on somebody else's property. So you need to have, that's why we talk about high ideological alignment. We need to agree on what's right and what's wrong so we can hold each other accountable to that. But there's lots of people that do stuff right that I don't like, that I would do it a different way, whether it's how they drive their car or raise their kids or plant their potatoes or train their dog or whatever. I don't like it, but it doesn't make it wrong, right? So first you go to that person one-on-one and you say, hey, I need to have a conversation with you. If they receive that, you're good. If they don't receive that, then you go with 2 or 3 witnesses and you have that conversation again. And if they receive that, you're good. If they don't receive it, then you go with the whole assembly, all the everybody. And you're like, hey, man, we're pleading with you. Could you please fix this? It's an issue. And if they don't receive that, then they shall be like to you, the nations and the tax collectors. Meaning, I still have to deal with the IRS, but I don't go looking for them. I don't drink beers with the IRS. You know what I mean? And so you don't get to hate that person at that point, but they're not in your inner circle. You're not spending time with them, doing life with them at that point.
I see a lot of people in the comments asking, how you get people to do things. And I feel like if you are utilizing your time and doing things worth doing, the right people will show up. If you have evidence of success, if you have something viewable, right? And a lot of people are like, how do I find these people? You see the dude in here that's got like 4 letters and numbers, 6 letters and numbers after his name? That's a ham radio guy. Ham radio guys show up at ham radio meets, even if you don't have one. Show up at gardening clubs. Show up if you want to meet people that believe what you believe from scripture. Go where those people are, right? Find that church or whatever it is that you need for that. But I think you need to have evidence of success for people to show up and be a part of that. A lot of times, too, if we're talking about your spouse, right? Well, Amanda's not out there moving those chicken tractors, and she's not out there while it's 105, and I'm sweating my ass off. She fills the refrigerator. She does the laundry. She manages. She pays the IRS and keeps them from knocking on the door, right? I keep the account full. She spends it where it needs to be spent, right? I can make the money. I'm terrible about paying the bills. So there's a lot of times where we're focused on something we're laser focused on that irritates us. And if you really stopped and asked yourself, how long would it take for me to just do that thing, right? Is that really what I'm mad about? Or is it some other silly shit and this is what we're talking about? If they solved that and did that piece the way you wanted it, is the problem going to go away, or is it going to be 10 other little piddly things? And how important is it really? Like if you lost that person, no matter who that is, what else goes with that? Like they were saying, we're focusing on these other things. And a lot of times they're doing, if you asked an employee here, what does John do? They'd be like, I don't know. I don't see him till 9 o'clock. Well, you guys know a lot of times I'm up at 4:30 in the morning. They don't see me till 9 o'clock because I've already done my entire day's work, right? I'm on to 2 and 3 other things. So the perception is not always the reality.
Yeah. And I think that's important to know as a boss too, because we forget how long things take. Like, first of all, when I hire somebody, which is rare because I prefer not to have employees, but when I hire somebody, they will do what I can do slower than I can do it. That's not something to get mad about. I'm just super fast and efficient at the things I've been doing forever, and they're just learning. And so I have to find a way to balance. It will take them longer. They're literally slacking and need to go. And if they're slacking and need to go, then they need to go.
So a couple of follow-on thoughts with what y'all just said. The first is, a lot of times when you see something that you don't like in somebody else, it's usually something you don't like about yourself. And you are vomiting that from yourself onto them, right? And so you're like, that guy, he works like shit in the afternoons. It's like, yeah, you probably work like shit in the afternoons too. And that's why you're sensitive to it, right? Or I don't like the way his kids act. You probably don't like the way your kids act, which is why you're sensitive to it. And so it's like, there's another principle for that. Like, take the log out of your own eye before you go look for the speck in your brother's eye, right? And so that's just simply something to be aware of. That when you see things that annoy you in other people, you should probably stop and ask yourself, why does this annoy me? How come I'm not okay with this? And then the second is, because we get this question all the time in our channel, how do I build the right group of people? And the answer to that is, you don't. You build the right now group of people. People come and go all the time, for good reasons, for bad reasons. People move into the area for work and then they go somewhere else for work, or they move in and you guys date each other and fall in love and you're like, yes, let's do life together. And maybe a couple of years later, people have grown in separate directions, or got to sell a house and move to Phoenix because grandma, they were going to put her in the nursing home, but we're going to go take care of her. Like, that shouldn't stop you from building the right now group, right now team. Use the people you have right now, because it's a natural progression of life. People come and go. There will be a day when I'm no longer on the internet. What are y'all going to do? You're going to watch John and Nicole and whoever the hell else you feel like. You build the right now team, not the right team, because maybe the guy moved in, assuming it's a guy and his wife, they moved into the property next door and they were killing it, and everybody was just getting along great. And then after a couple of years, it's like, I don't know, we just don't like really hang out that much anymore. Okay, cool. Maybe you rekindle that relationship. Maybe you don't. Whatever. Or maybe they move away, or you move away. Whatever, man. So don't see. This is the thing, right? It's paralysis by analysis. You keep thinking about how it should be rather than what it is. You got to deal with what is way before you ever start worrying about what it should be. Because if you're not executing in what is, you'll never make it to what should be.
Yep. I will say this. I have a rental cabin on my property. Tactical Redneck rents it from me. I think you may have met him at the event. And that dude works hard on this homestead. We are basically partners in the homestead at this point. And the way we structured it to begin with is I have a rental agreement and he pays me rent. And then he gets reduced rent in exchange for a specific listed set of things. He does way more work than that on this homestead. And we have, we're actually in the middle of updating some things in our financial arrangement, but having those articulated in the original contract is the only way I will ever do rent trade, because just you can live here in exchange for a certain number of hours doesn't work. It was specific duties. And then we waited a year to see if it worked, and it worked fine. So, but I've had any number of other people come in who are going to trade me for rent, and I had to evict them because they just sat down there and got drunk, or they, were breaking more things than they were fixing. And, it takes a lot of my time to show somebody how to do stuff here. And I can only invest that time in so many people before it's just as easy for me to run the homestead by myself, which is not easy.
I think there's more of his blood in the soil than water at this point.
Possible.
And whoever comes in addition or after that dude, holy shit, I feel sorry for them. Like, that bar is set like incredibly high. That whole crew you bring here during the festival or any of the events, like, those are the same guys, and they work. Holy shit, do they work?
They knock it out. And when they need to rest, we let them rest because they work when they work. But they didn't all show up one day. To Bear's point, they came over time, and there have been people in and out. We have one holler neighbor leaving this week because she got a great job offer in Oklahoma, and that's great because she's ready to go make some money. Money is helpful in life, so that's good.
A lot of times, you almost have to have that separation to realize how good it was. Like, I've got some dudes in my close network, like, they're friends, right? I think we're very careless between friend and acquaintance, right? I've got some dudes that if you were here, like, you'd have been like, those guys are going to kill each other. You've got some dudes that in their own situations, they're all alphas, right? And there's going to be bump heads and turmoil. And I would like to say that every one of those dudes that has left here is in a much better position now. And our relationships are way, way stronger. I would definitely do way more for them now than would have. And had we stayed together, we never would be at that level of maturity in our relationship. If things do unravel, we are all very close and we can fall back in if need be. But it's just made us stronger, much, much stronger. And it took that absinthe. Even my wife, my wife and I split up, like, we've been together off and on for 25 years. There was a couple years where she was gone, but it took that. It took both of us being apart. And there's times in the conversation years ago where I'm like, are we going to do this? Or, what are we doing? And she's like, we both know what being apart looks like, and we didn't like that. So, yeah, we're going to make this work. So sometimes it takes that.
Not to, like, talk about trust falls and synergy and all of that, the corporate buzzwords.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to be said for surrounding yourself with the right people. To what you were saying, John, is the core group of people that you have around you, they're either going to make you better or they're going to make you worse. And shame on you if you stay exactly where you are. I get people all the time, they're like, Barry, you've changed. Like, hell yeah, I have. You want me to be the same guy every day for the rest of my life? That's ridiculous. Um, Point being that as people around you help you become a better version of you over time, and you help them become a better version of them over time, there's going to be times where you butt heads, you rub up against one another, and it's because you value those relationships that you're willing to say difficult things to the other person, or you're willing to do difficult things on behalf of or with the other person because you care about them. And that's for me, that's the real secret sauce in what we do, is that it's not simply transactional. It goes way deeper than that. Like, we actually care enough about each other to show up in each other's lives in meaningful ways, not just when it's time to plant potatoes, but also when somebody's like, hey man, I'm looking for a tall building to jump off of. Maybe somebody could give me a hand with that. Like, yeah, we can help you with that too, you know? So, and all of that comes back around to peopling, and people are messy. We're gross. We've all got baggage. We've all been hurt. We've all got scars, and like, cool. Yeah, just be honest with each other and be honest with yourself.
Okay, this question fits really well. Is there a primary weakness in communities you see more often than others?
Yep. Freeloaders. Goes back to that question earlier. There's a lot of people, and if you are a dirty hippie, excuse my lumping you into this category, but there's a lot of people that I've met who would fall into the dirty hippie category that think that everything the community should provide every need, and that because they are part of the community, the fact that they exist means that you have to subsidize their existence. I disagree completely with that. We are 100% capitalist. Acts chapter 2, that's another thing with people of faith in Christianity. They like to say, well, they held all things in common. Well, yeah, the way that works is we are so enmeshed in each other's lives that I literally don't know whose chainsaw this is that's in my barn. Like, I don't know. Like, they held all things in common. Hey man, whose 20-pound propane cylinder is this? I don't know. I have 3 extra chains in the back of my truck. Where'd they come from? I don't know. But we didn't all get together and put our stuff in a pile and say, okay, now it's all ours. And there's a lot of people that I've seen with that where you have 1, 2, maybe 3 individuals that are high earners that end up subsidizing the existence of everybody else in the community. And that's completely unfair, and I would say unbiblical. He who does not work shall not eat, right? So you got to do stuff. And so I've seen that has been the downfall of several intentional communities, because there was almost a socialist type aspect to it. And that doesn't work if the person who's pouring the most financial resources into the system pulls stakes and leaves. Now what do you do? So I've seen that a lot, and I really don't like it. I much prefer, we have lots of people within what we call our camp, our group of households that we do life together. We have lots of those people that work for us, but not all of them do. And they're all responsible for their own households. I don't subsidize anybody's existence, and they don't subsidize mine. If we choose to voluntarily engage with one another to go in on a purchase or whatever, or lend some money to a brother because they hit a rough spot, that's cool. It's voluntary, but it's not expected of one another. And so there's absolutely, in the community aspect, an entitlement that some people have. They're like, well, we're all in community now. All of your stuff is now my stuff, and I get a portion of your paycheck. Not with me, you don't. We don't do that. Other people do. It doesn't go well for them, but we don't do that.
Yeah, I call those people takers. You have doers in the community and takers, and when you know somebody's a taker, they go. They can't stay. You don't need to have the sit down talk with them. They just stop being part of the community. You can't get into the Holler neighborhood without us already knowing you're a doer to begin with. And yeah, it's just, if you let one taker stay in your network, even your digital network, and you don't just boot them, that one taker will take out 20 doers in a day who are just like, screw this, I'm not putting my effort here anymore. I'm going to go put it where it pays off.
Well, even if they had lat launch and elevation, they might not be able to get into the holler anyways. To stack on what Bear said previously, it's everybody's contagious, right? So you're going to catch something from every single person you're in contact with. So you better make sure that you want what you're about to catch from them. And that's just how that always goes. And then as far as changing, if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. You're going to become and they say 5, right? But I think 3 is really all I even have bandwidth for. You're going to become the 3 people that you're closest with, or the 3 people that you consume content with. And I hear Bear say things. I know exactly who Bear's talking to. I know exactly the content Bear's watching, because I know those same guys and I consume the content. And it's a progression that I want to be in line with. I like the things he's saying. I like the new energy, and I'm really good at the doom thing. When we do the live feeds, people want to have the doom conversation, but they want to get stuck. It's the dude that's like, you'll get a dude that shows up and put 50 comments. Don't buy property. You don't own it. You're just a slave to the system because you got to pay property taxes. That's fine. You can rent my house, and I'll rent to you, and you don't have to own it, and you will pay my property taxes. But guys with money, they set up trusts, right? You have trusts and green belts and all of these things. When you have money, you don't have to. The IRS tax code is 88,000 pages. 8,000 is what you have to pay. 80,000 is how not to pay it. So which guy do you want to be, right? Which one do you want to be? And as far as the freeloaders showing up, I have in any organization, you're going to have 10% of the people to do 80% of the work. You're going to have 10% of your customers in any business that are 80% of your hassle, right? They're going to be the most. We fire those guys, and we fire them publicly because it rallies the others together much stronger. We'll use their name as a coupon code. And while he's cussing and all over the internet, all these other guys that he's drawing attention to are using his name and getting 10% off, right? We get a $20,000 spike in sales every single time we do that, and it lights a fire under him. He still wants to consume the product. He's going to go to your competitor, and your competitor is going to mamby-pamby around, and I'm going to take that competitor's easy customers while he's trying to take care of that guy. And that's how everything in life is. If you just keep that and you don't have to apply it if you don't want to. You don't want to have to believe it. But I just planted that seed, and you will start recognizing that within any organization. Anywhere you go, physical power, office power, whatever it is, everybody knows who the guy that does the most is, and everybody knows who's the person who's always late. They're also always the first to leave. And that's everywhere. That's just how life is.
Yep.
John, that's actually how I became aware of you. Was like you were like, John Smith wrote an email complaining about his Rallyman mag pouch, and I told him was going to take 6 months. You are never going to get this pouch. I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but I am loving this. Yeah.
So we had a patch panel guy like that, right? And I'm like, I'd rather light your stuff on fire than send it to you. You're canceled. And we go outside to light this thing on fire. And 30 minutes later, we finally pour gasoline on it to get it to light. The stuff won't burn.
Yeah, that's what your blowtorch is for.
We had one this morning. Guys like, why is my order canceled? I'm like, I really don't know. I personally built your order. I'm like, hey, why'd you cancel this guy's order? She's like, well, I sent this text out, and we have these orange thread multicam black tool bags. And the dude's like, this is bullshit. By all means, build orange tool bags and don't build my stuff. I'm like, Amanda, it's $183. We were going to ship this, right? She's like, he cussed me. I don't know. I'm like, okay, now I see, right? Your order was canceled because of this quotation marks right here, right? And he'll come back. When I get off of here, there'll be 3-4 more emails from the dude, and I'll take and read them on TikTok and Instagram, and we'll use his name as a code, and we'll sell every sling we have sitting out here. I mean, that's just how it goes. That's always how it is.
Yep.
Oh man. Well, and that
our Antifa guy hasn't come back today.
Well, we banned him.
Yeah, but he can make a new profile. That was a new profile anyway.
Can you imagine? I mean, we all know what it takes to make an account. You got to make an email. You got to make an account. You have to get verified, do all these things. Can you imagine the time people spend making fake accounts to watch people they don't like, to say things in a negative manner, I can't manage my real Facebook accounts, much less have some fake account. It's just crazy. So that just goes back to the positivity, the thing we were talking about before we came on live, right? When you get around people, because I easily get sucked into that. If you meet up with a dude who you haven't seen in a couple years and all he's telling you about is people you don't know, get away from that dude, right? When you talk in a positive manner, you start to act in a positive manner, and positive things start coming to you. And it's equally opposite too. So, we can go on, and I can talk about customers and stuff, or I can be like, hey, I got 800 slings out here that are ready to ship to you, and if you order one tonight, you will get tracking in the morning. So which do we focus on,
Awesome.
I love it.
Bear, do you do your med classes around the country or only at your location?
Well, about that internet thing, it's accessible to at least 4 billion people. And at refugetraining.com, you will find a list of all the classes around the country.
John still has an 8-track player in his truck, Bear.
Okay. Sorry, John. Yep. We do around the country.
They've done them in Nashville.
We've done them in Nashville. We've done them Philadelphia, Georgia, Florida, Texas, Indiana. We've got a Pacific Northwestern tour coming up. We've done lots of Texas classes. We were just in North Dakota. Gosh, I can't remember all the places. We've been Ohio, Pennsylvania. Wherever there's enough people, we will go and train. And if you do not see a class in your AO, and don't be, this is PG-13, right?
Yeah.
Don't be a whiny bitch and define your AO as within 30 minutes of your house, okay? Because we drive across the entire country to bring this circus that is refuge training to you so that you can learn the fine art of not dying, right? So if you don't see a class that's within a reasonable driving time, half a day of where you're at, and you want a private class, you can email sales@refugetraining.com. And we do lots of private classes. We just signed a private class this morning for one of the largest construction companies in Texas, because the OSHA has changed their statutes. By the end of this year, you are required to have a first aid kit, an OSHA Class B kit with a tourniquet in it. You're required to have one, and your employer must provide you adequate training in its use.
That's the most sensible thing OSHA's done that I've ever heard of.
I am 100% against government regulations, but that one actually makes sense. Yeah. So now, and with that being said, not to pontificate too hard on the subject, but there are a few OSHA Class B kits out there that have an air quote tourniquet in it. And what they have is a little rubber strap that is a venous tourniquet that is used for constricting the veins in your arm so that you can insert an IV catheter. That is not the same as a windlass tourniquet to prevent arterial bleeding. So don't think that if you buy that kit, you have a tourniquet. You don't. You have a glorified rubber band, and it's not going to work. So
we used to put the tip of a Bic pin in those and make water weenies out of those things. Those tubes, surgical tubing's all it is, if that. So, like you were saying on the 30 minutes of your AO, guys, there's dudes that ride around here on horses with buggies that somehow get 2 and 3 hours away from home. Like you can do this. You can do this. Imagine if, and maybe not October, but imagine if the next time Bear comes in here, if Refuge came in and did a class on a Friday prior to the event. I mean,
that'd be badass.
And what does a private class look like? Like how many bodies does that need to be?
So it can be anywhere between 5 and 25. And the cost for the class is the same. Mm-hmm. So if we have to deploy, anywhere in the country, we have to get there, right? And so the cost is the cost, a minimum of 5, a maximum of 25. And so as a private class at that point, it's up to you to get as many people you want in your private class as possible. If there's 8 guys on your mutual assistance group security team and that's all you want in the class, it's 8 guys. The price is the price. And so you take that price and amortize it out over 8 people, it's going to be higher than if you have 25 people in the class.
Right.
So but we do that all over the country, both public and private classes. And typically, if we're going to an area to do a private class, we'll add a public class, at least a responder one, while we're there because we're already there. So capture some of that additional revenue, create opportunities for people to plug in. So, and it's badass training, man. I've now had 4 former action guys, 4 former U.S. Special Forces Green Berets, who have all told me within the last 3 months, this is by far the best civilian medical training that we know of, including an 18 Delta Special Forces medic who's like, dude, this shit is sick. Like, I can't believe you're training civilians like this. So that's, in the mouths of 2 or 3, let a thing be established. So
that's cool. Somebody was asking in the comments when the mini stomp will be back in.
Mini stomp. Hey, Bobo, is mini stomp in stock? We're waiting on 4x16s to come in. What's the ETA on those? About a week, says Liberty and Bob. Yeah, I'm here, watch this. Hey, look, we're mobile. Oh, what are you working on? Nothing? That's not the Class B OSHA compliance kit, is it? Oh, that's not what that is? We're definitely not over here making new first aid kits at all.
2,000 emails in the next.
Oh no, 2,000 emails. Sell them first aid kits, Bob.
I mean, it's a blessing, but it's not ready yet.
One day. So, here, hold on. Let me go back in front of the black screen. Now we look all professional.
Now you look official. Yes.
Cool. So,
yeah.
Got my finger on the trigger for mini stomp. Hey, that's awesome. Go to the website, and on the item at the website, refugemedical.com, there's a notify me when in stock button. That's not like a cute little thing. We put that there because whoever is on that list for any of those products, when they come back in stock, before we release it to Gen Pop, we send you an email that says, hey, these things are back in stock. You should go ahead and buy it now. In the order in which they hit the button. So if you hit the button 3 weeks ago, you got first dibs on it. So we try really hard to do good customer service.
That usually eats the inventory before it ever makes it to a real email anyways.
Oh yeah, dude, there are so many products that come back in stock and general population doesn't even have a clue because there's people stacked up on the back end just waiting to get it. So
well, here's one. Here's a flyer. Any recommendations on the manual water well pump? I bought one at an estate sale that's super old. So I've got nothing. It works. Old stuff seems to work. And
you guys can't see my phone, but right there, bisonpumps.com. Bison like the American buffalo, with the Shamani Tatanka Owachi from Dances with Wolves. Yeah. Bisonpumps.com.
Okay, got it. Bisonpumps.com. Threw it in the comments as well. Except for maybe I didn't.
How many wells are on your place, Bear? I know there's multiple properties right there. 3, any city water?
So we have rural water run in, then we have 3 wells, and then we have 2 ponds, and then we have 3 springs, and then we have rainwater catchment.
Wow.
And we have 3 creeks as well. So we are overloaded with water, which is cool because it hasn't rained here in 5 or 6 weeks, and we've still got water coming out of springs, like cold water coming out of the side of a rock. This is pretty cool.
That's awesome. So we're on city water. We have a ton of water catchment, but like I water all of our gardens with city water. I bought this big 12-inch inline dechlorinator, and it drops my pressure to a miserable amount. It takes 4 times longer to water. But I don't notice a difference, right? You hear how bad chlorine is, and I'm sure that it is. But we grow a ton of stuff using city water and have for 15 years now. So I don't know, man. I think the importance of having your own water is that you have your own water. And if somehow one source goes bad, I mean, people, you never know. Like, how do they know when they send that water warning out that, hey, your municipal water is contaminated? Because people are already sick. The pipe has been opened. They shocked it with chlorine. I mean, you know, when you get in your shower in the morning and it smells like an indoor public swimming pool, you know they just shocked that system. Can't be good for you, but we still grow a ton of stuff with it.
A lot of those people that complain about the chlorine, watering your plants with chlorine, are also out there just like throwing 7 dust on anything that's moving in the garden. So, there's choose your form of chemical warfare,
Right. Or they're at the drive-through window every morning.
Yeah,
or that.
chlorine might kill your fish in the water, depending. But I have raised many a garden in the city without even putting 2 seconds of thought to the fact that there was chlorine in the water, and they did great.
So we've never run a chemical test or pH test on our aquaponics system, ever. And when I top the water, I usually top about 20% with hose water. Maybe it shocks the fish, I don't know. But the plants don't turn color. They continue to get bigger. The fish are crazy. They want to jump out and do flipper things. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, ours are doing great.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, we're coming up on 90 minutes, Bear, and I promised you I wouldn't take your whole day. How you doing?
Well, we're at like, 61 minutes right now?
Oh, no, we're 61. Never mind. I can't tell time.
I'll tell you what. How about I go pee for a hot minute off camera? Unless you guys want to come along for the ride with that.
We're not rated for that.
You don't have a refuge medical shiwi?
No, the shiwis are out of stock at the moment.
Oh,
you should do a peeing bucket.
It's just a bucket with a funnel. All right, I'll be right back. We go a little bit longer.
BRB. All right. Yeah, take that mic off. We don't need to hear it too.
I take the iPad to the urinal and just set it up top there.
I don't. I just walk off camera without saying anything. Okay, well, somebody's asking about the swale workshop.
So swale workshop is 100% in effect. We booked the tractor yesterday. The excavator. Did something just happen, Nicole? I'm full screen.
Yeah, I made you featured.
So we're gonna feed you. The outhouses are ordered. Everything is in motion. The seeds are all on the property already that we're using. I think everything for the most part is here, except for Billy and William, which 100% will be here. We're going to open up Friday, and you're going to be able to come in for camping, come in, say hello. And then the shop will start first thing, full speed, 6 a.m. Saturday morning. So if you want to come, join us.
Yeah, get your tickets, $197. selfreliancefestival.com/swale will get you to those tickets. And I have to have the head count to the guy making the food. We're going to have some awesome homemade fried chicken. And we have a local producer of country hams that we're working with. So we're going to get those done and cooked. And we're serving it cold because it's going to be hot outside. Class in the afternoon is in the garage, which is not hot AF.
That's why I'm standing here.
Yeah, that's where I stand. Can we turn the air conditioner on for class, John?
It's on right now. Yeah, the air's always on.
Yeah, so air conditioned class. And it's going to be unlike any other swale workshop that's happened. We're going to come out there with some guys they're going to show you how to do the surveying. They're going to show you how to design the swale. They're going to show you when you would not want to do a swale, which is really important to know because swales don't answer all the things. And then we'll do the install. We'll do some theoretical work. Next day, we're going to show you how to plant the swale. That's over at selfreliancefestival.com/swale. It looks like Bear is back. So I'm going to figure out how to go back to this mode. Woo.
.com. I would let me give you a shameless plug for the Self-Reliance Festival. We go a lot of places. We talk to a lot of people. We do a lot of things. It was a blast. It was a really good time. And I was coming in completely unbiased, had no idea what to expect. And it was super cool. And it was hot. And people were still well-behaved and good spirits. And they were engaged. And so kudos. Good job to y'all. And again, don't be a little bitch if the Self-Reliance Festival isn't 14 minutes from your house. Go to it. Take a weekend and drive out to Camden and go hang out and meet people, date each other, fall in love, sniff each other's asses, touch antennas, develop nodes on your network, do all that stuff. Because, man, if you're not willing to put in a little bit of effort to be a part of something, why do you want to be a part of it in the first place? Because all the people out there that are out there killing it are going to see your lack of effort and go, don't want you to play in my sandbox anyway. So you should go. We drove 10 hours to SRF. There you go.
I like to point out to guys that people literally come here from opposite coasts, from Canada. People are like, I can't come and train at TAC Response. We got a dude that literally gets on an airplane from Japan, lands in Nashville on Friday, and flies back Sunday and does it 4 times a year. People come out to our events, to TAC Response, all over the place, right? And they're like, I literally drove 2,500 miles to come to this thing or flew in and met a dude or met a girl that lives 15 minutes away from me. Why is that? Because that's common interest. If you want to meet people that want to do things you do, you have to go where those people are.
We did one class in Dallas, Texas, where competing for longest distance traveled from home, in one class in Dallas, we had a guy from Anchorage, Alaska, and a couple from New Hampshire in Dallas, Texas. So there's people who are always going to find reasons why they can't do it, and there's people who are always going to find reasons that they can do it. You want to hang out with the people who are always looking for ways that we can make something happen. Not all the reasons why we can't do it. And it doesn't mean don't be so hopelessly optimistic that you walk right into an ambush. But look for solutions, not problems, because the problems are always going to be there. If you focus on them, that's what you're going to see. If you focus on solutions, that's what you're going to see. You're preloading your frontal cortex to look for solutions if you're solutions oriented. If you're problem oriented, all you're going to see are problems, and then nothing's ever going to work out for you, let alone trying to go to SRF and have a good time over the weekend.
It's the poverty mindset thing. Instead of saying I can't afford that, it's literally that toggle, right? Put that on the other side and say, how can I afford that? And if you use that in every aspect of your life, you're going to find in 90 days that your life looks a lot more like you want your life to look. What did Iridium say on there? That's a dude that was, by the way, guys, for all you guys that can't come because you're 200 miles, 400 miles away, Iridium packed up from way up North Canada, got to the U.S. border, and the United States would not let him through. Yep. That dude, Ed's been in this building probably a dozen times. He comes here from way far away.
Yeah, and he sent us an email saying, I'm so sorry I can't come. I was like, dang it. Getting stuck at the borders, that doesn't make me happy.
How did I get
Snowbird is legit.
YouTube doesn't like anything that we say. And because I say things like shoot politicians in the face, right? They don't like that. So we get unsubscribed quite a bit. And by the way, that's a sitting U.S. congressman that said that. That's a quote of.
Yep. Yeah, the censorship that's happening that's not subtle, we notice. When somebody gets canceled, we know this, but there's a lot more going on under the hood for algorithms, for people who are not of the conventional propaganda they want to push right now. I don't care who they are. It's just the John's totally shadow banned.
I've had my YouTube for 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years. I had 20,000 people for the first 8 years. We're only at 27,000 now. They literally unsubscribe. Every night I do a live feed, a dozen people are like, hey, I just checked again and I'm unsubscribed. They only see a link because my wife sends it out to people on our list.
Yeah. Okay, we have a request for the cell speech for a medical bucket.
A medical bucket?
Echo
okay.
Sierra.
Roger that, Echo Sierra. Listen, I'm not a dancing bear. You can't just give me commands and I dance on cue.
If you buy 2, you'll have enough to make a Berkey with.
That's exactly right. So we have 3 different buckets. Currently, we've got a couple more that we're working on. But the concept for this was preppers like to put stuff in buckets. And I get all the time, people are like, well, Bear, again, poverty mindset. I just can't afford a Bearfac, handmade, made in America, guaranteed forever. I can't afford that, so I guess I'm just not going to buy an IFAC at all. No, asshole, buy it one piece at a time. Build it one piece at a time, like that Johnny Cash song, right? Start with a tourniquet and work your way up from there. And so we were thinking about this as far as wound care is concerned, and kind of hit me like a ton of bricks one day because I run chainsaws a lot between homesteading and I used to cut timber professionally and so forth and so on. And I've been cut with chainsaws 3 times, and it sucks. Chainsaws do not cut you like a knife. They physically remove material from you, and therefore they require a lot of wound care afterwards. So I was thinking about preppers like to put stuff in buckets, and you need wound care. And I always tell people gauze, tape, gloves, disinfectant. Like, how do I build a good home first aid kit? Start with that: gauze, tape, gloves, disinfectant. So what if we just jammed a bucket full of all of that stuff? Turns out you can do that, and we call it the wound care bucket, and it's got enough stuff in it to treat a grievous injury for 30 days or several smaller injuries for 60 days in a bucket. And so we focus a lot on trauma medicine, like something bad just happened. We got shot, stabbed, blown up in a car wreck. We got to fix the problem now or the casualty will die. Cool. What do we do after that? Gauze, tape, gloves, disinfectant. And so that's what the wound care bucket is. And they're sealed. You can keep them in storage forever and a day. You can throw them in your pond if you want to, whatever, it doesn't matter. And then we've also got a postpartum bucket and a birthing bucket that has literally the hospital grade kit that the doctor uses to deliver your baby in the hospital. There's one of those inside of the birthing bucket. It's all sterile. Everything's packaged. It comes with a birth certificate, Eldon blood typing cards for mom, dad, and the baby. So yeah, it's all in there because, again, preppers like to put stuff in buckets. And we all saw the stats after 9/11. 9 months later, there was like a bajillion babies born because during traumatic events, people find comfort in one another, if you'll allow me that. So who's to say there's not going to be more babies in SHTF? And so we've got the birth bucket, postpartum bucket, etc. And they're very reasonably priced. They're at refugemedical.com. If you use Bear Nation, you get free shipping on everything in the store. And we are actively working to get away from UPS right now for shipping because UPS went woke and doesn't like freedom-loving Americans, so they can kiss my hairy white ass.
Yeah, nuts.
Well,
nuts.
Where are you going to? FedEx?
We had a conversation with FedEx earlier, and it's looking like FedEx will just start sending a dedicated truck to us every day to pick up all of our shipments. That remains to be seen. It's, the ink is not dry on that contract yet, but if not them, something else. But because here's the thing, UPS, right? Like right now, they don't like the fact that people are sending firearms components and magazines in the mail because, they're weapons of war. What happens when they decide that John's chest rigs are weapons of war adjacent, or that our IFACs are weapons of war adjacent, and they're going to confiscate those things too? It's horseshit, and that's a slippery slope, and UPS should shrivel up and die as far as I'm concerned.
As crazy as that is, I'm surprised that it's UPS that did it and not USPS. So I would have a contingency because it's coming. When one does it, you're going to see the others. As far as those birthing numbers being up after 9/11, I would assume the birthing numbers are probably up after all the lockdowns. But there's this big elephant in the room where there's a 70% miscarriage rate. So, the purebloods, the mudbloods, Harry Potter, right? Those guys that took that thing, a lot of those guys probably ain't having babies. It's probably not viable.
I got to ask y'all a question. Sorry, Nicole, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I did, so I apologize. Are there fewer people where you are?
I believe. Or
is it just me where I am?
So my theory is, okay, the house, we paid everybody, and then we couldn't kick them out of their apartments for 24 months, right? Okay. That's not the case anymore, right? So those people, in theory, have to go to work. How come there's no employees anywhere? Where did those people go? I believe that they are no longer walking amongst us. I believe that they have expired. Because who was most apt to take those checks? Not my people. They were all here every day, right? Not anybody I know. They were working. That other side is more apt to, run along with that. Where are they? There's
We
no
have-
help wanted everywhere. Everywhere.
We have more here.
Hmm.
You cannot find housing here.
So we have more.
They aren't working.
They are not working?
Well, so we have a 3% unemployment rate in my county, which is traditionally 15%. So everybody's employed, but there are people who are pouring into this county because there's low property taxes and low regulation. And so I think it's most of the people I know who are recent to the county are not from here.
So we have an influx of people moving here. You can see it because there's gravel roads everywhere. They sold their Cali or New York houses, right, at 3 times over value. They bought the biggest Ford truck they could find on a lot. They bought a $150,000 fifth wheel. They moved here. What they weren't prepared for is when they find a contractor, he's like, absolutely, we can build your house in 4 years. So they've put a shed. They've got a couple of outbuildings, but they don't have to work. They came here with money. They definitely have money. But they're like, I want to get out of wherever, right?
I don't know if it's just the doldrums of the summer or what, but a lot of the places I've visited lately, probably within the last 4 weeks, there's no people. There's far less road traffic, and I get it, gas is high and yada, yada, yada. But I'm not talking just semis, which are way down, but personal vehicles way down. And then you don't see anybody. There's no kids outside playing. There's no people mowing their yard. It looks damn near lifeless in a lot of the areas. And it sparked my imagination, which is why I wanted to ask y'all where you are at. Are there fewer people? Because in the places I've been lately, it feels depopulated. And I'm not trying to whip out the tinfoil and have that conversation. I'm just saying my personal observations is there are parts of this country that feel super depopulated right now. So
yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that. I'm just totally in a different. I drove to North Carolina 2 weeks ago, and it was semi after semi after semi, like nose to butt all the way there on 40, which was the opposite of what I was expecting because I keep hearing there aren't very many semis out there. They're all on I-40 between here and North Carolina, apparently.
right.
We go into Nashville on the weekends. There is not any traffic.
Yeah.
We walk into restaurants. It's half capacity. We've walked into restaurants that were 30% capacity, and they're like 2-hour wait. We're like, you got 500 empty tables. They're like, we only have 3 servers.
Right.
You're starting to see, they say that over 50% of all restaurants in the United States are gone and never coming back. And I believe that to be true. You're starting to see now the real estate is taking the signage down. So what you really notice is a building that has, a sign up for 20 years, 10 years. You really see the difference, how dirty it is around the sign. It really does stand out. And we're also seeing a lot of buildings where they've taken the signage down. They're completely demoing the buildings. So there's a lot of empty lots in major cities that never had empty lots. They're just literally just foundation is the only thing there now.
Yeah, so in the comments, I'm seeing some consistency in the cities where I know I don't go very often are a lot less. Except for this person in Florida says they're all coming there.
Might be.
I never understood the whole let's flee to Florida thing. Have you not seen the weather for the last 4,000 years? There's a hurricane coming and everybody tries to bug out and they're stuck on 95 and you can't go north, and I don't know. And I like Florida in fall. It's cool, but in the summer, gosh dang, man, not interested. Way too many people. But to each their own. I kind of like DeSantis. He seems all right. I don't know. He could just be another rhino, though. I guess we'll find out.
Has he declared for president yet?
There was a lot of rumor that he was going to be Trump's running mate, and that they were the rumor mill. The super dependent prepper intel networks out there were saying that Trump was going to declare his intentions for 2024 on the 4th of July with DeSantis as his running mate. And to the best of my knowledge, that hasn't happened yet. So
Nope.
Whatever. I think, and maybe this is an interesting way. I think we got about 10 minutes left that I can hang out with y'all. this might be an interesting way to kind of wrap this up, because I don't think it matters in the big picture who's president in 2024. I definitely think Biden, President of the United States of America, asterisk, has done a horrendous job, and we're seeing a lot of downstream ramifications from his air quote leadership right now. But I think on a macro scale, the trajectory of the company or the country is bigger than who sits in the Oval Office right now. And I think we're headed for some pretty rough times, regardless of who gets elected. What do y'all think?
So
100% agree. Sorry.
Tom McDonald said the other day, he said, the system's failing, the system's failing. The system's not failing. The system is doing exactly what the system has been designed to do. It's not for you and I. It's not continuity of government, right? It's continuity of government. It's not continuity of individual persons. So it's all by design. So what is going to be the catalyst to get the United States into a one world governance? That's the problem, right? What's the big push right now to disarm population? Look what's happening in all the other countries. Why is Sri Lanka not front and center? Germany's about to be on fire. Why is that not front and center? Because the United States has too many guns. Even grandma has guns, right? So that's the concern. That's why it's not front and center. They don't want you to go, oh yeah, we're not doing that bullshit. That's not happening, right? What's the whole thing with New York and, okay, there's just been a bomb. Don't ask why. You just know that you've been right? So tinfoil hat. What if that's just to desensitize the few people left in New York? It's supposed to be 65% vacancy in all of the high rises right now. There's nothing there. So what if that is to get you used to it? And okay, hey, we're going to do this nuclear war training day, right? Everybody stay home from work. Boom. Sprints around the city. Oh, you don't have the thing according to your app. Here's your thing. What if, as far-fetched as that is, I don't think anybody believes that Biden is in control of anything or Kamala Harris. That's not who's in charge. Who is? I don't know. It doesn't matter whether you're left or right, Republican, Democrat. They worry when you're not on either side. They are scared of us, right? We, the right-wing militia, or now it's Patriot, right? You got a flag hanging up. Oh yeah, we got to go talk to that guy. I just saw a thing. I think I sent it to you a few months ago, Bear. It was for Jackson, Tennessee. And it was a law enforcement, and I'll call the law enforcement, hey, we're doing this conference, Homeland Security, and the whole push was conservatives, patriots, if you see the whole Obama nonsense, right? I sent that to a few people, and they said, yeah, we've got it going on in California. There is a huge influx for that. You hear all these agencies buying up high dollars of ammunition. Are they? Yeah. Is it new? I don't think it's new. I think what I believe all that is arm all these agencies. So when the powers that be need that infrastructure, it is there for them, because the guys that did take the oath and will stand with the oath will not go and round up U.S. citizens. Your local law enforcement, when some terrible shit happens, they're not coming and showing up to your checkpoints. They're going to take care of their own families, right? So when they got to send them F troops out, all that stuff is in place. I know that's not exactly what you asked, but.
Yeah. Well, so I'm going to say this. Even when Trump was in office, who everybody thought would make a huge difference and drain the swamp, he accomplished jack shit.
Correct.
He did make some changes in the tax structure and was behind that. Some things changed, but basically he accomplished jack shit, except for he mobilized the extreme left to get stuff together to get the current one in office. But I don't think any president I've seen in my lifetime mattered. I don't think it matters who's in the White House. What matters is local control. And if you look at when COVID came and the things that were done that were horrific to our economy and to our people, with lockdowns, shutting down businesses, the places where that had the lowest impact were places where the local government said no. And that is what we still have. If you want to be involved in politics, go to your city first, your county second, and your state third. And at that point, those layers of protection are going to do what's best for you. I worked in public policy for 14 years. We always focused locally. None of the rulings coming out of the Supreme Court matter either. All of this gnashing of teeth over whatever's happened in the last 3 weeks in both directions and the ha 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 doesn't matter. What matters is local, because that's where you can actually make a difference. That's where if you stand up, they don't know what to do with you now. They didn't know what to do when DeSantis was like, no, we're not doing that.
It's designed to divide you. What if it really is as simple as the fight or flight, right? If we can get you to fight with me and I can get Bear to be mad at Nicole, we are focused, it's constant. It's fight or flight. It's fight or flight.
Yeah.
You are not going to rest. You are not going to operate at the full capacity, and you're not going to focus on your own development, right? What if it really is that simple? They don't want you to start a business because you might be able to take income that they cannot steal. As far as somebody said, it's weird that they're arming the IRS. The IRS is already armed. They just hired 75,000 IRS agents. Of course, the IRS is going to come and burn somebody's shit down because they have to make an example of you so the next people think twice before giving that agent that comes in a hard time. Remember when they said they put that fence around Waco and they said we're going to wait them out? What happened to that waiting them out, right? I was in Lompoc prison with Paul Fada, one of the only living Branch Davidians from that day, right? They killed Paul's wife and child in that fire. Like, I know people that were there. Do you guys not? They shot Randy Weaver's wife, right? Ron Horiguchi, who they still put on fucking posters today, right? People, when Janet Reno died, people were like, she was such a good person. Guys in the gun community were saying that. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Do you think the IRS won't come? And, oh, there's no dog here? We'll shoot the neighbor's dog on the way out then.
That was my rant for the day. All right, Bear. We are coming on your time expiration. What would you like to promote while you have everybody's attention?
Be nice to each other. Do shit that matters. Stop acting in fear. Don't be petulant children. Stop wasting your time. Yeah, do shit that matters. I've got all the links. Like, if you know who Bear Independent is, you know where to find me. You know about our first aid kits. You know about all that stuff that we do. I think it's awesome that you guys do this, and I think it shows that you care about people out there and wanting to remove the blinders from people's eyes and open up their ears and plow the field with their heart so that they might, get off of their ass and make the moves that they need to make. And I concur completely, and I appreciate you guys for having me on. Maybe my biggest takeaway from where I am right now in my own personal preparedness journey is I think it's coming quicker than a lot of people think it is. And so if you're on the fence or you've been sitting on your ass, you need to get busy, because I think the window of opportunity for people to get truly prepared is closing. And then as the system goes away, or as the system functions perfectly fine without you in it, you're going to lose the ability to get the things and do the things that you need to do to have that standoff capability to resist. And I don't mean resist, rifle resist. I mean not be subject to the whims of some outward authority or some tyrant somewhere. So yeah, stay busy. Like, let this conversation motivate you, not just like listen to it on the ride home in your car while you eat your Cheetos and drink your Mountain Dew and go about your normal average bullshit life. Like, do shit that matters, because you could get hit by a bus tomorrow, and then what? So that's it. That's all I got.
Awesome, Bear. John, what do you got?
Look, guys, it's real easy to get in these prepper groups and survival groups and stuff on Facebook. It's the worst. I'm in all of them, right? And it's constantly, I have $15 to spend. What should I buy? I want you to take your 15 and make it 30, 60, 120, right? I want you to take your hobby, your side hustle, whatever, and develop a product somebody wants to give you money for. You have people that produce things that people do business with. They seek them out and willingly give them money. and you have bureaucrats who only get a paycheck because we fine you or we steal your money or we imprison you over it, right? I want you to be a producer, and I want you to do things with your hand rather than this. If you have time for this, there is something you can, water's free when it comes out of your sink, right? Put it in empty containers. All those bleach containers, I don't care what it is. Even if it's laundry detergent, you can filter it, or you can put it in a toilet to flush later on if you have to. There's tons of stuff we can do for free. Stop with the distraction, because 99% of the stuff that happened during COVID, it didn't affect any of us three here on this video right here. It literally just didn't affect us. It wasn't here because we live rural.
So yesterday when Bear did his morning briefing, he talked about getting prepared not from a place of fear. And he said, not that it doesn't get to us sometime, even I feel it, because it is apparently coming faster than we expect or expected a year or two ago. And I try to live by that when I talk to y'all and give you solutions on my podcast. I try to bring opportunities where we can hear from people like Bear and like John and see examples of real life action being taken. But I think today what I'm thinking most about is the words I can't. I can't because. Anybody who's feeling fear or feeling pressure or worried about how ready are you, Bear at the beginning said he's not ready enough. We're never really ready for calamity if it turns to calamity. But we can take one step and then another. And instead of telling ourselves, I can't, we can ask, how can I? How can I do this? What can I do differently? I spend my mornings focused on money, my afternoons focused on homestead, so that I get some things done all the way and make accomplishments. It's why I haven't actually heard Bear's morning briefing today yet, because that would be something I would listen to while I'm homesteading and working with my hands. The other thing is when we get into these conspiracies, I see questions about this or that fire here or there or this or that protest. It doesn't matter. None of it matters. We start asking who's behind this, and I see, Klaus Schwab and all this stuff. It doesn't matter. It does not matter who. It maybe matters a little bit why, because if you figure out why, you can figure out how to not be impacted by it. And that's the only extent to which that matters. I think it's important to be situationally aware, but not situationally obsessed. So hopefully today, this afternoon, y'all can come back on this video and comment about what did you accomplish to improve your personal stability, security, relationships. One thing you do today. Just do one thing today for me. That's all I ask you to do. With that, guys, we'll see you next Wednesday.